Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Thank you all for joining us today for another I Am Cameroon show. We have been working so hard to keep it on a bi-weekly basis, and we've been in the last few months running this series on agriculture at the heart of Cameroon's economy. We're delighted that you took time to join us again today, and today we're going to move on to have a conversation about policy. But before I get to that, let me begin by introducing myself. My name is Are Obenson. I am founder of the I Am Cameroon movement, currently serving as its executive director or secretary general, if you will. The vision of the organization, and I'm going to make sure that we're technically everybody can hear us. The vision of this organization is for all Cameroonians to take ownership and action for the nation. We do this through the mission of the organization, which is to educate, inspire, and engage Cameroonians to assume and accept responsibility for the future of Cameroon. Everybody who is Cameroonian that associates with Cameroonian owns this organization, absolutely. And we're asking everyone to get involved. And there are many ways in which you can get involved with I Am Cameroon. You can become a member of the organization and help us foster this mission. You could become a supporter by donating to the organization or the several courses or projects that the organization is embarking on. You can simply become a champion of the organization, be an advocate, and also become an actor. Get involved, take action to lead this philosophy and lead our country to the dreams that we've all had about what we want of our country, the Cameroon that we want. Today, like I said, we're going to be continuing our conversations around agriculture, and which we've been doing in the past few months. But today we're going to move from the actors to talk a little bit about the policies that drive the actors to succeed. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. And I just want to highlight, because many people may not know, that Cameroon has since 2010 really been working on some policy considerations to support agriculture, or at least to support farmers. And some of those include what they're calling the second generation policy, which is really talking about modernization of agriculture, where we're moving to mechanized farming. But it's also conversations that, in researching all of this, talking about the growth and employment strategy paper that was released in 2010. And this really was identifying agriculture as the driving force of the economy, the growth of the economy, but also the largest possibility for job creation in Cameroon. Then there is a lot of conversations and policies that are talking about rural agriculture and how to support small groups of people that are farming. There is a lot of opportunity now around agriculture in Cameroon. And as we have heard in the past few months, we've gone from livestock farming to large-scale mechanized farming and we've spoken about the transformation of agricultural products by women who were here the last time and really inspired us all. But we also felt that there was need for us to understand the policy framework, so that for many of us in the diaspora who are asking questions about how to get involved, maybe this could be an opportunity for you to learn about how you can get involved with farming in Cameroon. But to do all of this, I would be inviting the moderator of this session, who is none other than Tabe Masay, to lead us with engaging our guest today for this session. Tabe, I'll turn it over to you.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Ari, you said everything about, the journey that we've taken with agriculture, and here we are talking about policy. So I will be introducing our guest from Cameroon, and that is none other than Mr. Bisong Ogok, the director of the Southwest Development Authority and a leader in shaping agricultural policy. He will share with us firsthand some insights on how government actions are opening doors for Cameroonian farmers, and hopefully we would all get inspired on how to get involved. We would also be joined today by Ms. Delphine Kamgam, who is an entrepreneur, and she goes from, oh gosh, she'll introduce herself to you anyhow, from processing all the way to exporting. So I will be calling on Mr. Ogok just to introduce himself to the audience of I Am Cameroon, and tell us a little bit about himself. And also Miss Delphine will introduce herself, and then we'll go on to some questions.
Right. Thank you for having me. I'm delighted to be on this conversation. I'm Dr. Besong Ogok, the Director General of the Southwest Development Authority, Soweto, based in Buea, of course. And I am an agronomist by training, but for so many years now, I guess, were you getting me?
Yes, yes.
Yes, we are. We're getting
You're
you.
getting me?
We are getting you, yes.
Yes, okay. So as I was saying, yes, as I was saying, I'm an agronomist by training, but for most of my career, I have actually been involved in development issues, and more specifically rural development. And so from that background of agriculture, we are able to drive agricultural development in Cameroon. Mostly, I've worked in the Southwest region. I worked in the Korup National Park project from 1993 to 98. Then I led the World Bank funded extension program from 1998 to 2005. Then went to the Ministry of Agriculture, where I was the sub-director in charge of cooperatives and common initiative groups there for 2 years. Then came back to the Southwest region, where I led the Rumpi Area Participatory Development Project, which was bilaterally funded by the government of Cameroon and the African Development Bank. And this was a project which was meant for poverty reduction, mostly, I would say. And after that project ended in 2012, we continued with government funding till about 2016. And in 2017, we formulated another project, which is called the Agriculture Infrastructure and Value Chain Development Project, funded by the government of Cameroon, of course, and the Islamic Development Bank. With the project effectively started in 2019 and is ending this year. But in 2019, I became the Director General of the Southwest Development Authority. So from that brief resume, you can see that I have been working directly mostly with resource poor farmers, small farmers organization like cooperatives and CIGs, and carrying out innovations in the area to actually try to beat poverty, because poverty, many people think that it is endemic and so it should continue to be with us, but that's not actually supposed to be the case. And agricultural development is an opportunity which we can use to actually get people to have a dignified life, because we live in a region and in a country which is endowed with a lot of very favorable condition to develop our agriculture. So that is who I am, and basically.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bisong Ogok. And we would be remiss if we did not introduce Delphine, who actually introduced us to you, and so we're so grateful to her. So Miss Delphine, I'll have you come on and just, give us some background about yourself and your choice for bringing forward Mr. Dr. Ogok.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Tabe. I'm really, first of all, just want to continue to thank Cameroon Movement for these very, very insightful conversations. And also thank our panelist, Dr. Ogok, who agreed so graciously despite his very, very busy schedule to be with us today. So my name is Delphine Kamga. Today I'm here as an agripreneur, somebody who is without any agricultural background at all, is trying her hand in some agricultural activities. So I would not want to take too much of the time that we need to hear from Dr. Ogok, who has a whole lot of things to tell us about Cameroon's policy and where the opportunities are for people like me, but also for everyone in the diaspora who is looking and hearing that agriculture is the way to go in Cameroon and not even knowing where to start. I did suggest that we talk to Dr. Ogok. As you have heard from his resume, he himself, he didn't say that he is also a returnee. He did study out of Cameroon. So he returned to Cameroon to take up all those roles that he has talked about. So he has walked the path that a lot of us are trying to walk. And I thought he would be like the best person that we could hear from in terms of what to do and how to do it. So thank you very much.
Thank you for setting the stage. And, that's why I called on you to set the stage. So Dr. Ogok, our first question really is, could you share at a high level your views of the Cameroon's agricultural policy? Because I think we need to understand the policy for us to know how to navigate, and for those of us who are interested in coming back. So at a high level, you just lay out the agricultural policy.
Yeah, thank you for having me once more. In 2012, I think that was the last agricultural show that we had in Bolova, and the President of the Republic during that show said it was time for Cameroon to move into what he described as second generation agriculture. That was more of a slogan than a policy per se, but after that, the Cameroon government has taken upon himself to shape some policy, some pieces of policy, which is now guiding our agricultural development. And I would say prominent among the agricultural policy that we have first is the rural sector development strategy and the National Agricultural Investment Plan. And these are policies that have a framework that run from 2020 to 2030. And so they are fitted within the political vision of government, the global political vision of government, which is the Growth and Employment Strategy. Paper itself, the GSP, which again, the Growth and Employment Strategy paper also relies on the National Development Strategy, that is the NDS 30, as is referred to here in Cameroon. NDS 30 runs from 2020 to 2030. And so during this period, we just came out from an evaluation of the first part of the NDS 30, and which shows that the growth pattern is not as expected, but there is progress. And so the main objective, I would say, for the political vision of our objective of national development strategy, first is to establish conditions that are favorable to economic growth and the accumulation of national wealth, and to ensure that the structural changes that are indispensable for industrial industrialization are achievable. It also is aimed to improve on the living conditions of the population, and you know that the population of Cameroon, up until recently, more than 60% of that population was rural. But you know, with some of the crises that we had, we've been seeing an exponential growth in urban population because many people left the rural areas to the cities, and there was a slight change. But with the gradual return to peace, we begin to see that the rural exodus that was experienced around 2019, 2020, people are returning. And I take the case for the Southwest region where I am based. We're seeing more of the population returning to the rural areas because of the encouraging prices for cocoa, especially for 2024, 2025. Again, one of the objectives of the NDS 30 also is to strengthen climate change adaptation and the mitigation of the effects of climate change to ensure that we're able to be more resilient to the effects of climate change, and to improve on governance, because all of this, we may have policy, as long as the governance aspects are not taken into account, then there is an issue. And so the NDS 30 also look at enhancing performance towards achieving sustainable development goals. Like I said earlier, the aim of NDS 30 is to strengthen Cameroon in its role as the economic powerhouse of the Central African sub-region, because we belong to the CEMAC zone, 6 countries, and within that sub-region, Cameroon is the leading economy there. So our rural sector for now remains the major driver of the national economy. And when you talk about the rural sector, then you must be looking at agriculture, because that is the main occupation in the rural areas. And the idea here is to continue to ensure and guarantee food self-sufficiency for our population, and also to ensure that agriculture continues to play the role or the structural transformation of Cameroon's economy. According to this policy, the national development policy, according to that document, we are aiming at increasing productivity of the agricultural sector. We are also hoping that this, once we increase our production, it should be able to impact industrialization by developing, like what Delphine just talked about, transforming our agriculture from subsistence agriculture to agriculture as a business. And so today, government is focusing not just on training or accompanying smallholder farmers, which are subsistence farmers, but ensuring that graduates who are leaving from school, rather than looking for job opportunities, they can actually make a living by getting involved in agriculture as a business. And so for this to happen, government has put in place some programs, or some initiatives have been taken. Presently, as we speak, there is a project we call in French, Projet Plaine Centrale, is found in the heartland or in the midlands of Cameroon, in where most of the Mbam, Ekim, Mbam, Enugu, and part of the East region, where the government is targeting thousands of hectares of land. The idea is to seed this land, give it on lease to those who want to invest in agriculture. Government will provide roads into this land. And most of the land will be You have other utilities will be provided, and so if you are interested to get involved in agriculture, you can access this land and you do whatever. If it's livestock, you can do it. If it's crop production, whatever the crop that you are of interest to you, you can do that. So those are things that did not exist before. One of the challenges also that the government is overcoming through the policy is that there are tax breaks that have been given in the area of agriculture. So if it's true, those who have been following events in Cameroon very recently, they would have observed that last year the price of fertilizer was almost going through the roof. And this, of course, was not encouraging. But we have to say that it is not because there wasn't a policy before to help those who are involved in agriculture as far as acquiring various inputs, but it was more an issue of governance. And here, that is where the governance aspect comes. So government has in place a policy in which fertilizer is not taxed, because if it is taxed, the tax is transferred directly to the farmers, and so fertilizer is not taxed. We now have a policy in which we are introducing organic fertilizer in the country, and so we have partners. One of them is TMG. TMG is an agrochemical company based in Yaoundé, and they have signed conventions with the Ministry of Agriculture for the importation and vigorization of organic fertilizers such as Humic Plus, and these are fertilizers that are relatively less damaging to the environment.
Yes. Wow, Dr. Ogok, you have laid down so many things. I was struggling to write. And so then the question is, are there any links? Is there a website that people can go to? I mean, we're recording the show, certainly, but for those who want to read the policies and see for themselves on where they fit in, is there a place where we could maybe add it to our website and have people go to?
Yeah, I'm sure if you go to the website of the Ministry of Agriculture, that is Minade, www.minade.org, I'm sure that you'll be able to find most of this information, what the ministry is doing, and you get all of that information there. Wow. And like I was talking about the aspect of the huge project which the government is investing in the Midlands of Cameroon. This is also being done with another government establishment, which for those who left Cameroon not too long ago, they could remember Senema, and that has been restructured. And so the aspect of agricultural mechanization is actually being put in the forefront. And here the government intends through Senema to set up equipment pools in all the 10 regions. And so farmers may not necessarily have to acquire their own equipment, but they could access all of this equipment. You remember during the Agri Show of Ebolova, the government set up a tractor mounting assembly plant in Ebolova, and several tractors, hundreds of tractors were mounted and just abandoned there. So, but now all these tractors are being recovered through Senema, and they are going to be made available to farmers on a hiring basis, and to assist them in the mechanization of land preparation.
Exactly, because you know we in other shows prior to this, we're kind of talking about how to mechanize farming as opposed to relying, you know, because when you mechanize, then you can certainly expand on the ability to cultivate hectares upon hectares. So, you know, thank you, Ari, for putting the website on the chat. And you already touched on some of the questions I had, you kind of already went into them when you talked about the NDS 30, the National Development Strategy, because we're going to ask about, what are some of the strategies and priorities. But you did say something about graduates and encouraging graduates to take
Right.
on, as unemployment is certainly, I mean, the culture in Cameroon up until recently was go to university and get a government job. So that I'm pleased to hear of a mind shift that is towards agriculture because everybody eats, and certainly. But you also said something about agriculture in the royal sector being the backbone of the Cameroonian economy. Could you elaborate on that for our viewers?
Sorry, can you come again?
That agriculture being the backbone of the Cameroonian economy. So let me clarify myself. Are we talking about export, or are we talking about subsistence farming for the Cameroonians, or being a backbone was simply talking about exporting raw products like cocoa, tea, and rubber? But
Yeah, there are two aspects, or let me say even more than two aspects that make agriculture the backbone of our economy. First is employment. It creates employment for so many Cameroonians, and so it is the mainstay of Cameroonians. And then those are referring here to those who are directly involved in farming. But over and above that, there are people who also depend on agriculture, those who are now involved in transformation or processing. There are also those who are transporters, who are transporting agricultural products from the area of production to the market centers. And so that is, I mean, they also depend on agriculture, because without the rural production, they will not have anything else to do. And so basically, agriculture is still also the future, because if you look at it, you realize that more than 80% of the population that lives in the rural area, we say the rural area, the population is about 60%. More than 80% of that 60% depends on agriculture. And so it is right to say that agriculture still remains the backbone of our economy. But then today, Cameroon is importing a lot of what they could produce, a lot of food. We are importing maybe more than 200,000 tons of fish annually. We are importing oil palm, we are importing flour, all of those things which agriculture could actually offset, because it is through agriculture that we can actually, it can help us to really offset our balance of trade. And that is why, as one of the policies, again in 2024, the government came up with the import substitution plan, which is running from 2024 to 2026. So at the end of next year, there will be an evaluation of that import substitution plan to see how far it has helped us in terms of cutting down. For instance, we have wheat flour that most of it is imported, and I would say almost every urban household in Cameroon eats bread every day, and bread which is made from wheat flour. So the idea now is to see how much wheat can Cameroon produce, but we are also looking at transformation of what we have, like cassava and sweet potato, to bring those crops that are our own local crops, and bring them into the bakery industry as well. So those are some of the aspects which government is trying to push.
So thank you very much. I know we also have I have some questions here, but I also see that we have some viewers who are also throwing questions into the chat. And the one question, if you could just highlight, for our viewer here, is looking for one or two agricultural sustainable businesses that, in your view, are directly or indirectly benefit from the policy, and that this is from diasporas who are thinking about, investing in Cameroon for job opportunities or even for coming back. So in your opinion, if you were to advise someone in terms of the policies that are out there today? You've talked about wheat, so someone who is growing wheat understood. But what else what policy and agricultural business would you highlight?
Okay, thank you. I'm sure as Cameroonians, you all know the place of the brew industry in Cameroon. And I'll tell you that almost 90% of all what is used in the brewing industry is imported, because several attempts were made by brasseries to try to buy maize locally, and that directly impacted on the household. Yes, household, because the price of maize just went off the roof. And so if you have land and you just come back to Cameroon and you are, like I said, in the west area, in the Adamawa area, and you want to grow just maize, you are sure that you're going to make a lot of money from it. So
is government specifically encouraging? Is there a policy that would encourage? Here in America, we call it subsidize, and the government subsidize certain products to really encourage it. Is there anything, or the maize that you talked about, is there a policy to subsidize that? Or even if it's not to subsidize, to be tax-free or hassle-free?
Yeah, that's what I talked about tax breaks that are given. Everything.
I think you froze. I think you froze. While Mr. Bisson is frozen, Delphine, I'll have you jump in and see if you can answer that question. I also see Nigela's hand up, but I'll ask Delphine to
just contribute, not to answer the question. I was going to speak to that. So the big opportunities
in
that
agriculture, more or less, it's not tax. Yes. So if you were bringing tractors here,
Oh, we lost him again. Okay.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now. Yes.
Right. Okay. Okay. So like I was saying, virtually most of the inputs that are in agriculture. So if you are even bringing your own equipment here, tractors and so on, those will be they're tax free.
So they'll clear the port douane free or custom free.
Yeah, there is. I mean, that is the policy. That is the policy. Yeah, agricultural equipment is not taxed.
Yeah,
it's not taxed.
Well,
right now, I can give you an example. I can give you an example now. We are presently working in my corporation. We are working with some Italian partners, and we want to set up ultra high temperature treated milk with Italians. And most of the things that they are going to bring, they will not be. They're going to be free. We have been to the Ministry of Livestock, and that is the policy. The problem we have is that many people don't know that these are the policies that government has put in place.
Oh, sorry. I can attest to that as well. I don't know how I did this, but I'm here now. I can attest to that as well. Just so a few months ago, we had NOLA farms here, and we spoke about that. We're currently in the process of actually getting out about $1 million worth of equipment that, although we did it through Tractor Freak, but it's actually tax-free. It's actually in Cameroon and tax-free. So that's I can bear testimony to that.
Let's take Nigella. Nigella, if you can go on, take yourself off mute and ask your question.
So thank you, Dr. Ogok, and thank you, Delphine, for this very interesting topic. So on the issue of wheat farming, so you've highlighted that as a gap in Cameroon. And I had read a few months ago about the genetically modified seeds. Our competitors in South Africa and other African countries that we import wheat from are sustaining continuous growth of wheat throughout the year using these genetically modified seeds. What's the policy in Cameroon?
Yeah, GMOs are not accepted in Cameroon for now. GMOs are not accepted.
So how do we beat that competition? Because we're importing wheat that's using these seeds.
Well, I think for now we are not very sure that we can say that the GMOs will be safe, and so that is why government is moving cautiously on this aspect. And but until it's proven that it is safe for human consumption, then can we allow that? But for now, as far as I know, GMOs are not approved in Cameroon as for human food.
But also what Dr. Ogok had said is, yes, we eat a lot of wheat, but now Cameroonians or the Cameroon government is supporting plantain, sweet potato, and all the things that could be processed and have the same effect as opposed to eating foods that are not natural to the soil. Let's try to make bread and other baked products from things that naturally grow. So I think, we're talking about going green, I think is certainly sustainable. So for that, I thank you. There was a question also. Najela, did he answer your question?
I'm still a bit concerned because we're consuming it, right? And it's a secondary process. So the risk is lower, right? If we really want to be competitive in that space, the majority of Cameroonians are drinking, the brewery industry is relying on these plants that are competitive in the market. So we need to rethink that policy.
So great, Nigeria. So Dr. Ogok, I think what you were responding to is wheat for bread. But I think Nigeria is seen to say, no, Brazzaville is importing for thinking. So if the first step would then be just for the brewing, not for consumption. But again, you're the policy guy. You're having a conversation with people in the diaspora. Put it in the back of your head, as you go back to the table with the people you sit with. That's why we're having conversations.
Yeah, but I don't know. I will not be in a position to know whether what Brazzaville is importing is genetically modified, because in the Ministry of Agriculture there is a department which is the Department of Quality Control, and they vet every agricultural product that is imported into this country. And the policy for now is that GMOs are not approved in Cameroon for human consumption. So if you go and ask Brazzaville officially that what you are importing, is it genetically modified, I'm sure the answer will be no.
I'm sure.
All right. I think this is creating some robust questioning. Phil, I'll come to you, but there was a question in the chat that I want to kind of ask. And it is the initiative in the hinterland how does one get involved? How does one apply? That was a question from somebody here in the diaspora. How can somebody get more information on that land that is being leased? And how do they get involved? Actually, two people. So
yes. So like I said, this is an initiative which is underway, and so it's piloted by the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development. If you have anybody in Cameroon and you go through, I don't know if through the website of the ministry you can do that, but directly there are two directors in the Ministry of Agriculture that will give you a good answer to that. The Director of Agricultural Development and the Director of Projects and Programs in the Ministry of Agriculture. Those two departments are in charge of that scheme.
Okay, so Ara, you heard that. We will try to put it in our website. So all of you who are watching, become members because you can get really good information from our website. And Phil, go ahead with your question, and then there's a Dr. Beho Agboro that I will be reading her comments in a few. Phil, Mike is
Yeah,
yours.
thank you. And thanks, Dr. Bissell. So I just wanted to go back to Najila's point because back in 2013, I was introduced to that special seeds from South Africa. And to be honest, it's great. Because when
Wait,
we
that's
planted
Pana?
it, sorry?
What was it, Pana maize? Or what?
Yes, it was. It was.
Yes,
And when
yes.
we did plant it, to be honest, we planted around January in Bomana, south towards the Idinau area. And normally that's not the ideal time for corn because you don't have a lot of rain. But those seedlings did very well. We had, compared to everything else that we had tried, that gave us the best results in terms of output, in
But
terms
was
of
it
drought.
was this GMO? It's seed from South Africa, but may not necessarily be GMO.
That's the thing, right? So back to Nachila's point, we don't know what is, but
No,
the way
because there are hybrid maize, which is not necessarily
okay,
GMO, as that comes from South Africa as well, and it's allowed here. It's grown in Cameroon as
okay,
maize, yes, hybrid, but it's not GMO. So
okay,
you have to be sure about what
which
you get.
okay.
Yes, but I'm sure this was just hybrid maize.
And could we, I don't know much about the difference. Do you mind? Because I understood they kept saying, oh, this one is a special seed from South Africa. I don't know if you have more information that you can shed light because I got about we had three corn per, the guys who said we have three per stem per
Yes,
plant. And yeah, that was impressive because it's rather than getting one. So you can just imagine if you did that on a big farm, say about 2-3 hectares of farm, and you plant the corn, you can really increase your output. So I don't know if you could
Absolutely.
shed a bit of light on the
Absolutely. Well,
difference.
I guess you can get that with the Pana maize, but I said Pana is not necessarily GMO. Pana comes from South Africa as well. But we also, for instance, you talked about Bomana, which is in the Southwest here. The Southwest Development Authority, we produce seeds and we produce maize seed. And our maize seed is great because it produces on average at least 2 cups per stand. And so, yes, so with 2 cups per stand, you get the yields are still good if you maintain you have a good cultural practice. You are able to go as far as maybe 4.5 to 5 tons of grain per hectare. So that is good, as long as also, like I said, if the cultural practice is okay, that's you weed on time, you fertilize on time. And you're talking about the West Coast. In the West Coast, you can actually do 3 crops of maize in a year.
Okay. And these special seedlings, what you guys have, is that how does it handle the dry season? Is it something that is more drought resistant, or when it comes to, shortage of rain and stuff, how can that work? What you guys?
What we are doing is very adapted to the climate of the Southwest region. And it's also not very tall, so it's tolerant to storm, so it doesn't lodge as much as when you have also the varieties that give up to 3 cups per stand. The tendency also is that they are much taller, and so if you are unfortunate that there is a storm, there is a lot of lodging. I mean, lodging here is that they fall, and so I think that for maize, we have good maize here in Cameroon. We do have. Yeah, the only thing is the Pana variety has longer cups than what we have. They have longer cups. So which means they are densely packed. The grains are densely packed in
Okay. And the availability of your seedlings, how available are those? Is it something which is always available or you just go out of season? Because sometimes we ran into an issue where we didn't have enough seedlings so back then.
For instance, this first cropping season for maize, if you're talking about maize, we just finished the first cropping season and we still have about 5 tons of leftover.
Okay.
We have the greatest challenge that we face as far as maize cultivation here in the Southwest is the second season crop. That is what is planted in August. That is at that time there is a shortage of seeds. But if you were doing the first season, there is always enough seeds to go around. And in fact, we even have left. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah. The Southwest Development Authority produces more than 80 tons of maize seeds every year.
Okay. Wow. Thank you so much. You know, I'm looking at time and you know, robust conversation. You know, we had people who talked about, you know, wanting us to continue with corn and other crops because of the gluten part of wheat, and that maybe, you know, some of our brethren that might be sensitive. But let's go on to this question about the current policies or new initiatives that SOWEDA particularly is implementing to promote and support agriculture in Cameroon.
Right. Thank you for having me. The SOWEDA, as you must have heard, is the Southwest Development Authority. And our main mission is to identify projects and programs that are necessary for the region and to drive agricultural development in the Southwest. And so at the moment we are guided by a strategy document which covers the period 2020-2030 as well. We try to be in consonance with the national policy. But one of the things that we are doing is we are providing, I would say, inputs to farmers at really subsidized rates. For instance, we're talking about maize. A kilogram of maize seed on the market is 1,000 to 1,200, sometimes to 1,500. But we at SOWEDA, we sell it for 500 francs. And so that is a standard policy that we have to encourage farmers. So we sell our seeds and other planting materials at very subsidized rate. This is to encourage farmers. We are selling a planting planlet that will normally sell for about 250, 300 francs. We're selling them for 50 francs. We give, for those who want to go into cocoa production and to raise their nurseries, we are providing hybrid cocoa pots for free to farmers.
Wow. So, you know, so thank you for that. But then I'm going to pivot on what are some of the challenges that you are facing as SOWEDA, and, you know, any ideas on some solutions that you're thinking about, either from the government or from the private sector. What are some challenges that SOWEDA is facing? Oh, Mr. Ogok is frozen. Mr. Ogok is frozen. Okay, Delphine, we brought you on. I know you had a comment or question earlier, so maybe you can jump on that. But yeah.
Yeah, no, I was just going to pivot. Earlier when I had my hand up, it was to pivot that we haven't heard, we're coming to the end without hearing about what SOWEDA is doing specifically. And yes, he's just talking there about seeds and seedlings. I, as an agripreneur, have depended a lot on those resources from SOWEDA, even though I'm not in the Southwest region, just because like an institution like SOWEDA doesn't necessarily exist in the central region where I'm operating, and sometimes I have to lean on that. So he's back on now, so I'm going to let him finish.
Yes. On some of your challenges. Thank you, Deb.
Yeah, okay. Like I was saying, we were talking before I got before the
internet got you.
Yeah. I was saying that we have a policy of providing planting material at really not only just planting material, most of our services, because we also assist farmers in improving access from the production basins to market. And so when we work with communities, we charge 50% the cost of hiring our equipment. And so if I take, for instance, if you were to use a bulldozer and the cost is say 520,000, you instead pay 260,000 instead of 520. So that cuts across all the different equipment. We charge at 50% when we work with communities to improve on their roads. But apart from that, Soweto also has projects, high impact projects that we write, and we are able to get funding for these projects with government support, but mostly from multilateral development banks. And we implement these projects in the rural communities. And the aim here is to facilitate investment in those rural communities. I take, for instance, presently we're running a project financed by the Islamic Development Bank, and the total cost of that project is 57 million US. And so we're doing roads in the communities. They don't have to pay. So we are doing roads for free. We are doing 290 kilometers of road. We're irrigating 200 hectares of land for free. We are all of that. We're doing them for the communities so that people can set up. We are building processing units for farmers. We're building 2 semi-industrial. In fact, we have already built those ones. They're finished. We'll just be commissioning them in the day side. 2 semi-industrial oil palm processing units for farmers cooperatives. For other small farmers, we provide them motorized press. All of this is for free. And so those are, I would say, facilities that Soweto is providing to people who are involved in agriculture in the Southwest region. And in other regions, like in the Northwest, they know that is doing similar thing. In the north of Cameroon, you have those who are involved in cotton production. So the cotton is giving the same facility to cotton farmers. They give them fertilizers, they give them good cotton seeds. Still in the north, for the rice in Semri, that's the same mechanism. So government has put in all of these institutions and a policy to ensure that our agriculture remains, because it is the main driver of our economy for now. And that is why you can see that even when the other sectors are struggling, Cameroonians are still able to feed themselves.
Wow. So, thank you for all of that. And I'm sure it was very interesting to our viewers. The question is about any challenges, because, we've got a lot of viewers here, and ideas about solutions certainly can come from. Yes. Any challenge?
We have challenge.
Yes.
Challenges are, of course, the resources are limited. That is a major one. And as far as agriculture is concerned, the roads in the region still remain a major challenge. And so evacuating agricultural produce is always a challenge. And in as much as we're trying to repair or maintain some of these roads, it remains a major challenge. For those since we're talking to an audience that maybe finances will not be a problem to them, I would say that, of course, people in the diaspora, they have the financing. But for those who are in Cameroon here, financing agriculture has always been a challenge, because the commercial banks are very reticent to provide loans for agriculture, because agricultural loans do not have proper insurance, they are risky and so on. But one of the ways that we are trying to go around that is some of the projects that we initiate will always have a microcredit scheme which where farmers can be able to yes, yeah, we have a microcredit scheme in almost all our projects so that farmers can access credit that can use for agriculture. But like I said, the main challenges that we face, of course, there's never enough money to reach out to the population that is needing these services. Yeah.
Wow.
And then, of course, the issue of post-harvest losses is a major problem, and that is why we are now talking about working on the value chain of each of the crops that we. So it's not just a matter of producing, but we must support farmers throughout the value chain, and so we are looking at transformation. I would take the recent examples that we have. We have just completed the setting up of a cocoa processing unit in Kumba, which will go operational in the days ahead. Our intention was not really to produce chocolate, but just to at least grind the cocoa and have the first products, cocoa powder, cocoa butter, cocoa oil, and then we can export that, because we came to the conclusion that for all these years, maybe cocoa was introduced in Africa or in Cameroon in the maybe 1800s, and we've always been exporting cocoa beans. Why can we not go a step further? So we are now looking at adding value, at least the first step or second step. Eventually, if we can be able to guarantee the quality, why not? We should be able to set up the chocolate factories right here in Cameroon.
Wow, it is 11:59, and the chat and cute questions are just buzzing. Like, people don't want you to leave. But we respect the time of our audience, and we really want to keep to time. And so I will be calling on Phil. Phil, are you available to do a close? Before we do a close, maybe Delphine, if you have one more thing to say, and then Phil will close us out.
Let me just say this, because we're talking to the diaspora audience. I think from my own experience, I think what I can say is whatever we want to do as investment in agriculture in Cameroon, we should think about collaborating and doing it really large scale. I think that small efforts are already there, but the impact is not that great. If we are talking about leasing equipment at a reduced rate, if it's one farm, it's still going to be exponential in terms of investment cost. But if, for example, there are 4, 5, 6 farms in the area, so whatever we can do to collaborate, right, in terms of how we invest in agriculture is what I'm going to say. And then in terms of these resources, I think that Cameroon stands a very good chance now to be the place where people can come for information about who is doing what where in terms of investment in Cameroon. And as such, people now, that information gap that was there for investors or for potential investors will now be filled by this movement, which I think is really a great thing. But just to say thank you so much, Dr. Bisong, thank you. This was very enriching. And from the chat, I can tell that everyone was really excited about the conversation.
I have people in the chat saying, can you please ask Mr. Ogok to stay for 10 more minutes so we can ask questions? This is rare. But so I would say for those who want to stay on. And if Mr. Ogok does not mind, we will stay on. Go ahead.
Yes, I just wanted to say that we have been speaking mostly on crops, but that applies basically also for livestock.
Livestock. Somebody had a question on livestock. Yes, please, can you
explain? Yes. So we I mean, all what we've been talking about crops also applies for livestock. So if you're investing in livestock, like I mentioned in passing that we are presently working with some Italian partners to set up a livestock ranch that will cover 5,000 hectares in Kupe Manenguba to produce milk. And we are one of we identified that milk is an important nutrient for children, which is lacking in Cameroon. In fact, in Cameroon, we virtually import all the milk. And what we import here in Cameroon, in the name of milk, is actually not milk, because I'm sure you all know what goes into when they say powdered milk. Some of it is I don't know, whatever, cassava or something ground, and they just put some flavors and into it and so on. So we're having those kind of schemes coming up, and so if somebody is interested in livestock and you want to work in the Southwest region, eventually contact us, the Southwest Development Authority. We'll definitely have more information in that area. So it's the same we're doing with aquaculture, that's fish farming as well. And so there are lots of opportunities in agriculture globally. I mean, in a holistic sense.
Wow. This is something. You know, you're answering questions that I did not ask, but that were questions in the chat and questions in the Q&A. That is fantastic. You know, we want all of our viewers to join our WhatsApp group, to join I Am Cameroon, and I'm going to pass it over to Phil Majeme. Phil, please close us out.
All right, thank you, everybody. I just want to echo this, right? Thank you, Dr. Bisson. This has just been so profound. The knowledge you've shared here, I mean, I grew up in the Southwest. I did not understand the power of Soweto. And I know a lot of farmers, a lot of folks who are interested in farming, who've listened to this conversation, are going to sit back and go and say, I need to contact Soweto.
Absolutely.
Ladies and so thank you, Dr. I'm just astonished. But ladies and gentlemen, this is no surprise. Cameroon has the potential. We have it. It doesn't take much. Government is there, willing to provide. We've heard about the lands. We started hearing about this conversation back when we had NOLA Group by Lisa, when she did talk to us back in April. And that same conversation has come back. There's everything available for us to make it happen. I Am Cameroon has partnered with us ever since, and they continue to demonstrate that capability that we need to all get together, join this banner. If you're not a member, please join. There's just so much information. We're connecting the dots. We're meeting people like Dr. Bisson, having an opportunity to tap in and see what else is out there. All right. Thank you, Ms. Kamga. As always, your ideas, your knowledge, and your love for I Am Cameroon, we feel it. And your love for agriculture and your love to make sure that we all realize the dream that you and your husband are realizing continues to show us you continue to bring value. Everybody, I cannot thank you enough for your time, but I know that the 1 hour, 6 minutes you've spent with us today has greatly enriched your mind and has opened your thinking. Let it not end there. I bet you Dr. Bisson will be willing to get more questions for us down the road. Let it not end there by you not joining I Am Cameroon. Let it not end there by you not changing your perception of what Cameroon has to offer. We are Superman. There is no Superman coming in. There's no special person. We have the superpower. It's right there ready for us. Thank you so much for your time. And it was truly a pleasure having you guys on our show today. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, good evening, and goodbye to all.